Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And it is 7 o'clock here Central Time in the northwest. Where am I at? Northwest corner of Arkansas, here up on top of our mountain, Critical Blast Mountain, and we are here for the LCS Guys. As much as it is the LCS Guy this week, with Michael Tierney joining us, but don't worry. We're working on expanding our cast. I've been reaching out to other LCS guys, and if you are an LCS owner or you think your LCS owner is somebody who would be really good on a show expressing opinions, reach out to us and let us know. We are growing the crew out. We've got the other guys have just got life has gotten in their way, and we're always landing on the wrong day apparently. But gosh, Michael, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing real good. How are you doing there, RJ?
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in here. I've been spending the entire day in my room here, bagging and boarding comics. Not that you like to do that at home, Michael. But
yeah, I do.
You do the same thing, right? You're doing the mail order. But we got the shipping business.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, last week we were talking about what a disaster it was. Of course, Diamond had been giving me nothing but trouble for like several months. Half my orders always being late. Then, of course, the first shipment of the Penguin Random House coming in being like, I guess, a nationwide disaster. And I was writing them, telling, hey, here's what you're doing wrong, this and that. And, I'm glad to say, that they've actually made the adjustment. They are now taking those boxes and put them inside of another box. So my orders are showing up fine. They're showing up in really good time. They're looking a lot cleaner. So they're making an improvement.
Good. Glad
and this is the shocking. I've done business with Diamond forever, and they've actually admitted they made a mistake. Oh, we got you. We got you put on the wrong group there to ship. I was like, I kept telling you guys something changed. All of a sudden, my shipments were late all the time. I kept telling you guys something had to change. And they kept just saying, well, stuff happens. And finally, I realized, yeah, we did have you with the wrong group, so they're going to get that changed.
We were shipping your orders out of California.
Yeah, well, yeah, you kind of think they were. I mean, they were just. I was getting them like late on a Wednesday half the time. I mean, that's just not going to work. And
you got to have the books ready before that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of this thing is timeliness. They get the books early enough to ship to you, and it's like, oh well, stuff went wrong. They finally said, yeah, we got you in the wrong group. First time I've ever heard them ever say, yeah, we made a mistake, and we're going to correct it. Usually it's like, oh well, just too bad.
That's
we regret the error, but get used to it.
Well, I tell you what, I've got. I've been expecting all kinds of different books to start showing up, and because of paper shortages and delays, it's like some are getting here on time and some are getting here later than expected. Friday, wow! The books I was expecting showed up, so I got in four boxes of Angel's Awakening. This is what I've been bagging and boarding today. This is the Virgin copy.
That looks good.
Parker. Yeah, and this is like a prestige bound book. It fills up the bag and board. If it had been like a page bigger, it wouldn't have fit. I had to get different bags. But then as soon as I got these in, my order from Uline showed up with boxes and tubes and poly mailer bags. I'm like, okay, put that there. And then I'm like, I'm watching for UPS because I'm like, I'm waiting on an Amazon order. I got one little thing coming from Amazon, which was, the copy of The Devil You Know, because I needed it for this moment right here. And I go downstairs because we were on the air with Mike Barron last night, and I wanted to have it right then. And I looked out there. I saw the UPS truck was coming. I was running the promo intro videos. I'm like, yes, I can just run downstairs and run back up. And I'm like watching, like, what's he sweeping the truck or something? I don't know. I said, screw it. I ran back in. I didn't get it. After the show, I ran downstairs to the basement door, which was open to take deliveries. And it was like a set of 2 skyscrapers of boxes. I had received all the prints and all the postcards and the oversized prints from Rabbi Zvi Lebetkin in Israel for his comic book crowdfunder. So I'm like putting the boxes all in here, and it's everything I can do not to just go, for the love of God, Montresor. I'm boxed in. I can't move anywhere without tripping over a cardboard box now.
Well, it's true for retail. It's true for mail order. There is such a thing as feast or famine. You're either just covered up and there's more than you can keep up with, or you're just looking for something to do.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because people who do the books and then the cards and then the prints, they don't all come at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the books, it doesn't matter what comes last. Until you have it all, you can't do anything with it.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just put these boxes here until the rest of it arrives. So I'm like wandering around stuff that I can't do anything with these until the whole kit and caboodle is here. Well, yeah. For Angels Awakening, the entire kit and caboodle is here, and we are packing.
Good for you.
So any day now we'll start getting the Rabbi Zvi's comic book bonanza. He's got an interesting one that you might really like too. The Imperium. I think I want to say that that's the name of the book, is the Imperium. He's got another one called Biblical. They're both coming. But the Imperium it's a black and white book, and he draws very much in the style of like Alex Raymond.
That's good stuff.
Photorealistic. Well, he's got these archetypal characters. He's got the spy. He's got the outcast, and it's all set in 1960s England, but it's Patrick McGoohan and it's Patrick Troughton. And it's all these 1960s British television icons interacting in this one big adventure. So,
now, did he use their images, or it's actually supposed to be those people?
He used their images, pretty much. I mean,
gotcha.
You can't look at it and say that's not Patrick Troughton or that's not Patrick McGoohan.
A lot of artists do that, yeah.
Yeah. So you got the prisoner, you got the doctor. It's a lot. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what was ordered this past 2 weeks for you, Michael? What are you getting on?
Well, just keeping up with all this stuff. They're finally starting to get their production lines back moving again. We're starting to get there for so long. You only got Marvel Comics 1 week, and you got the Marvel graphic novels the next week. Now they're finally starting to roll. Now they switched over to Penguin and Random House. They're starting to get their publishing line going again. DC's finally starting to pick it back up. I know there's been a lot of debate on, has DC stopped making as many comics as they used to or not. People forget that so many of the books they did, there for 3 months, they did nothing but filler. So, and then miniseries after miniseries. And, of course, all the brouhaha over the Superman, Son of Kal-El, coming out, that's kind of stirred up a few fans. And, I'm sure there were some areas that it saw an increase. I didn't see it in my area. I saw a decrease in sales because people are like, I don't want anything of it, or drop me after the first one. I'll get that one in case it goes up in value. That collector mentality, it never leaves us. But most
this
people
is a crappy book, but it's number one.
Yeah, most of my customers are not very big fans of seeing this happen. And I have one customer whose house is just all decorated with Superman stuff, and now he's worried. Oh, what if the Superman emblem becomes like the rainbow has become an emblem? And he's like, that wasn't my intent when I did all this stuff and invested all this stuff in Superman. There's some concern out there. But DC released a news said, hey, we had actually increase in sales. It actually sold better than number one. Well, they didn't give you any sales numbers though.
No,
and
they don't.
You got to remember, these are the same guys who said, hey, Batman's going to marry Catwoman in issue 50. So I never trust anything they tell me. But I know just on my, maybe it did increase in some areas, but it didn't in my area. It actually hurt sales. And I had one person who said, "That's it, I'm done with DC." Sometimes it just takes a tipping point where somebody says it's no longer the books I want to read. They aren't.
Well,
I'm not their customer anymore.
You had a 2 to 3 month period here where Poison Ivy gets a gay secret origin. She marries Harley Quinn, who's now bisexual. Robin comes out as bisexual. Catwoman comes out as bisexual. Now Superman, the son of Kal-El, is gay. Like that's a lot. Back to it's like dominoes just tipping.
Like I have a lot of customers who get the Harley Quinn series. Only had one person who said, "I'll take the Harley Quinn animated adventure series," where they really push that agenda on it with her and Poison Ivy. I only had one person who said, "You'll take it," and none of the other people's like, "That's it. I'll keep the main Harley, but I don't want that one."
Yeah.
So
and I should just distinctly separate out that the Harley Poison Ivy marrying issue is the animated series that's set apart from canon, but the Poison Ivy origin is canon. So there's still that going on there.
So let's not confuse the fans.
No,
DC's doing a good job about that, aren't they? Yeah, I mean it's just you want to create content for all your customers, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have a huge segment of your customers are going, "I think I've been forgotten here. What about me?" Yeah. And people have a right to read what they want, do what they want, but at the same time people have a right to not participate if they don't want to. And DC's kind of making some people, hey, are you going to read it or not? And I'm afraid it's a lot of the answer has been not. And it just you got Superman was just so archetypal. Truth, justice, and the American way. Nope, nix that now. It's truth, justice, and a better way, or better tomorrow.
Better tomorrow.
I think they changed it to something else for a while, but then they changed it yet again. So, and it's kind of interesting. All this is happening right about the time. I think aren't the Superman renewal rights for the original Superman coming back up again for battle?
I don't know. I do know that the Truth, Justice, and the American Way trademark, that phrase was trademarked. That trademark was lost in 2007. So I think they tried to go back and trademark it, and the courts said, nope, it's gone generic. So since they couldn't trademark it, I guess they're going, for a new phrase that they can try to float a balloon out there and get that trademarked. But this is one of the things about comics is that I know Stan said that the Marvel Universe is the world outside your window, but lately it's like, it's a photograph of the world outside your window. So it gets too mired down in real world events. Case in point here is this Superman #4 cover. And if you saw it, it was the one where they're protesting for against global warming. And Superman's right there in the front, young Superman with a sign, school strike for climate change. And just a bunch of kids carrying signs. And the thing is, this is the DC universe. So when the kid next to him is carrying a sign from the real world that says there is no planet B, like, have you talked to a Green Lantern lately? Do you know where John's dad is?
It doesn't fit with their universe, does it? Like, there are all these other planets that are habitable.
There's planets C, D, E. Yeah, there's lots of planets. Mars had people on it, and it's next door.
Suspension of disbelief has been suspended.
Oh, so it became a joke of kinds. But yeah, the DC announces that they've gone back to press for issues 1 through 4, and they're already in second printing of 5, which hasn't even hit yet. So they can't really say that they've gotten reorders for it because of sales.
Well, it just tells you they just print barely enough to cover their initial order. So if they're already reorders, they're going to have another printing.
Yeah, all you need is one.
Mm-hmm.
But you used to be able to go to Comic-Con, a website, and say, okay, well, here's every year and every month, and say, okay, this is what's sold. But that's because they were getting the numbers from Diamond. Comic-Con was.
Yeah.
There are no numbers that come from Lunar. It's if they say it sold well, it sold well. If they say it didn't sell, it didn't sell. We have to take their word for it. And like you said, this is the company that said Batman's going to marry Catwoman.
I didn't get hurt by that because I didn't believe it. I was just like, I'm going to order like a regular number 50, and I was bang on. Actually, I maybe had a few extra copies because there was so much disappointment They're like, well, this make the switch. You tell me it's going to be one thing, you give me something else. And people want what they want. They don't want to be told, well, we're going to switch this out on you. They just people didn't buy it literally, and I felt sorry for all these other retailers around the country. I mean, there were people who put on extra staff. They did things like have wedding cakes brought into their store.
Yeah,
they were making it into an event. They invested a lot of money and time. And like, yeah, you didn't believe us, did you? Come on, you know better than that. Yeah, I knew better, and I didn't get hurt. I did just fine. But well, so many retailers around the country, they did make it returnable, but still, you don't get those lost wages back. And it actually was kind of a down week at the store where it should have been a big event, but the news was broken before we even knew. So yeah, they just don't give the retailers the information we need. When Superman was going to die, they told us at that time. You can believe them. I ordered so heavy on that thing. I thought, man, I have lost my mind. I ordered in the thousands, and I was sold out within 2 hours. I mean, my phone would not stop ringing. And, that is still a decent book today, $20, $30 book still. I mean, it always had value. It always had demand, even though they had so much of it. But what happened was when it came out, they'd print, so many had been printed because everybody knew what to order. That when people came in and wanted it, the demand was filled, and so even more people wanted it. The fear of missing out. People said, oh, well, he's got that. I got to have that then too. And, so it's still a collectible day where you have other things that they have now where they will no longer tell the retailer when they actually do something. If they tell you they're going to do something, it's all a con. If they got something planned, they won't give you a hint because they're, oh, well, you might spoil it for us. We only want it to be spoiled through our social media networks, and that's where we want it broken. We don't want you to be the ones breaking it. Of course, I never broke news on anything, but I guess some retailers did, so we won't tell any retailers now. And now it's all adversarial about the sharing of information. And so when the book comes out, it does have something special going on. Not too bad. You should order more. Well, we had no way of knowing. And they don't print extra like the Superman, Son of Kal-El. They didn't print any extra, obviously, because it hasn't even been shipped yet. And they're already said they're going to another printing. So they probably had some people maybe do some reorders or something, and boom, they didn't have enough. But they're not backing up their own product. They're the only ones who actually know what it is they're selling. They only are the only ones who know if they've got something special going on. And they have no faith in their own product. They don't print extra when there's something big like that. And that's why, remember when the first death of Robin?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. Huge. And we knew it was coming. Yeah, we were part of the voting process, thumbs up or thumbs down. And that book always had value. That thing shot up. I mean, it actually peaked in its value immediately after it came out, and it's still held good value ever since, always held good demand. And again, we knew to order it. There were a lot of copies out there. Then they had another one where they said, okay, now we're doing a series called Death of the Family. Robin's probably going to die again. And he didn't die. Series is over. Then another little series called Batman Inc. They do kill him. With no warning, no notice, no extra copies available. That book is worthless today. Nobody cares about it. Nobody wants it. Nobody ever asks about it. You just can't disappoint.
And they still brought it back. I mean, the whole story. The whole story after that was after Robin R.I.P. was Batman just like nope, not buying it. Too many ways of bringing somebody back from the dead.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's true. But the whole thing is that you just don't support your friends. I think what they were wanting to do is say, okay, not available. Don't you want to start buying digital now? Isn't this better? There's no collector's value. You don't actually own anything. There's no investment. And you're not your own movie projector. You can't read the story at your pace, in your hands, go back and forth with your eyes. You don't have the control with digital that you have with the actual book in your hands. I mean, it's a tactile experience, and digital has never really replaced it. I know they want to because just create money out of the ether. No printing, no distribution, no comic book retailers to deal with. Just go straight to the customer. But it's just it would, I think, kill the comic industry if they ever decided to do away with print. I think it would be a death knell to them.
Well, remember also when the Batman 50 issue came out, that Tom King, I believe, and maybe I'm misquoting here, but I thought very strongly that Tom King said, yeah, but in issue 100, I'm writing towards that. The 100 issues where they're really going to get married. And then, he gets to issue 87 and they're like, hey, Tom, you're not here on this book anymore. We're giving it over to, somebody else. So if you were planning that far ahead, you still screwed. They still lied to you.
I know, yeah. You just can't get any facts that are accurate. And they did spin him off into the Batman Catwoman, which sells exactly as well as Batman. Now I will say, that both Batman and Catwoman and Batman, they've been kind of bleeding readers ever since 50 up to 50. It was growing the readership ever since the 50, ever since the big switch. they've been losing readers. Like I say, you just don't disappoint your fans. I mean, you keep them happy. A satisfied customer will buy a lot more than one who's like, yeah, they yanked my chain on that one, And I'll tell you what, there have been times, I'll never tell a customer you're buying the wrong book or you shouldn't buy that one, you should buy this. It's my job to give them the book they want. They tell me what they want, and I go get it. That's it. That's the beginning and the ending of my job as a retailer. But, I will try to help people out when I realize they're making a mistake, because sometimes the publishers get a little too fancy. Do you remember with Walking Dead number 50, the Halloween issue? I believe it was number 50, where at the end they had actually a little color section. Only time they ever had the pages in colors. When Rick got knocked out, he wakes up. Now all of a sudden everything's in color. His dead wife's back, the governor's back. He's running around on a floating device, and they're all allied with aliens. The aliens have come to Earth to steal our water. They were the ones behind the whole thing. And everybody's like, that's it, drop it, drop it, drop it, drop it. I was like, no, guys, give it one more issue. I think this is an April Fool's joke. And that's what it was. And but there they got a little too fancy, and it just, people are like, hey, you're switching it up. It's not what I've been reading. I don't want it anymore. I mean, it's just that easy to lose a reader. I mean, Walking Dead almost lost its entire readership in my stores when they did that little, fake out. Like, we were kidding. And then he wakes up the next one and realizes that was all just a dream. And everybody said, drop the book. That's it. I'm done. And I was like, just give it a try. One more issue. I think that's just going to end up being April Fool's. And that's what it was.
Well, comic books are so expensive that people are always looking for an excuse not to buy the book they're buying.
Yeah. And this whole restarting the series all the time, that just gives them another excuse. They think, hey, it's a jumping on point for new readers, but it's actually a jumping off point for old readers. Like, okay, I got that series complete. I'm not getting the next one. And
I'm not going to start another one.
The
I've
Marvel
been waiting
Zombie,
for the last issue forever.
Yeah, the Marvel Zombie and the Completist, they've exterminated them. It's like they just hunted them down like the buffalo and just wiped them out from coast to coast. Because you can't be a completist. You got all the variant covers. Some of them just completely impossible to get. You just you used to, as you were a collector, if you could count, you could collect. Now it's like, okay, this one goes to here, then it switches over to this title. Then you got to have a roadmap, and when you got to have a roadmap, it becomes more of a roadblock. And it's just they made it too hard. Like I said, the variants, the constant restarting, and people just they get to the point where they bail on it. You just keep taking their money if you're not giving them books that they're completely satisfied with. After a while, it becomes very easy to push them over the edge and say, "That's it. I'm doing something else." There's too many other choices.
Yeah, and these event things like they're doing with Superman. It's like, hey, look, he's this now. I look back, at all the times that Superman was something else. I look back at like 123 when he was Electric Blue Superman. Remember when?
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, well that one sold 263,444 copies. They know right down to the issue. But like 200,000 of those were a collector's item edition, and then the rest of them were the mainstream, main newsprint. But before that, it was selling 54,000 and 56,000. Immediately after in 124, it's like at 77. And 73, 71, 67, 62, 60, 57. It got right back down to where it was real quick.
Mm-hmm. And what will happen sometimes, they'll actually go even lower. That's what I've noticed when they do a renumbering of a series. They get that bump, and they're like, oh, look, it worked. Well, then it drops back down. It ends up lower than where it was before. Well, we need a bump again. Let's restart it again. And they don't realize it's a downward spiral staircase. They keep going up a little bit, but overall, they end up going further down. I mean, they need to chart it long range and realize this is a self-deprecating cycle.
Yeah, I couldn't get the numbers for the death of Superman that year to see what they were, the months before and the months after. Because I think they, didn't they just like, was there a Superman 76? Because I thought it went like into 4 books after that.
But ran through Adventures of Superman. You had the Superman Man of Steel. You had Plain Superman. And I think all the series did continue on. And then there was like, the funeral, storyline that ran for a while. And then you had the Who is the Next Superman. You had all the 4 imposters showing up in the 4 different books. So I believe they keep on going, But you don't really, past 75, you don't think about it because none of those things did any well. And I remember I was talking to one of the creative people on the book right after Superman had died. And he said, you'll never guess. I said, you got to be bringing him back. There's no way you're getting rid of Superman. He goes, yeah, but you'll never guess how. I said, hey, he's just like a giant solar battery. He just needs some time to recharge. That's it. I got to go. Bye. Click. Hung up on me. Because that was exactly it. He was a battery, just needed to be recharged.
Exactly. And that one, by the way, sold 6 million copies. That was
they told us in advance, and look at the sales they got out of it.
Yeah, that was an outlier in the in the terms of distribution. But yeah, they told you could do something with it, and
they worked hand in hand with retailers.
Yeah, well, there's a between the Marvels and DCs and the retailers, there is a gap now. Do you know what that gap is, Michael?
Go ahead, tell me.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I didn't get down on that, so I couldn't hear it.
Oh, failure to communicate.
Oh yeah, that is a classic. Yeah,
and they don't communicate with the retailers, which surprises me because you are their customer. I hear that, we hear it all the time from the creators. There's like, my customers are the stores, and if stores, over order or get over shipped on things, that's the only number they care about. If you walk in, I've seen photos of stores. I want to say it's Larry's store, but I could be wrong. Where there was took a shot of the shelf, and there's Superman 1, 2, and 3, fat stacks still of 1 and 2. Now, maybe he ordered 100,000 of each one. He's just refilling it every hour on the hour. I don't think so.
No, we'd love to have that problem though. Yeah, it's you just got to give us good information so we don't get stuck on one. It's like anytime I've ever okay, I'll bite on that. I've always gotten stuck. I mean, it never has been true hype since the death of Superman. That was the last time, and the death of Robin the first time. That's the last time I've actually got accurate information. Marvel did it to us when they ripped out Wolverine's adamantium. We didn't have a clue. Then for like a year or so, we're like, this might be the one. He might get it back. Nah, psych. And it just kept happening over and over again. When Wolverine finally did get his adamantium back, we didn't have a hint. Didn't even know. So just like they're going to try to con us into buy a lot of extra. This one, it ain't going to be nothing there. And then there is something there that we should buy a lot of extra to take care of the customer. We're not giving you a hint. We want that quick sell out. Wait a minute, I thought you guys were there to sell books and to satisfy the customer. I mean, there's just a real disconnect on what the goals are here.
They want to not spoil the story, but at the same time, they're not giving you enough information to know that, you really want to read this one.
Yeah. And when the customer comes in wanting to buy the book and the retailer doesn't have the opportunity to have it, customer's disappointed. And again, you disappoint your customers. It's insane the marketing strategies they have. It's just they aren't taking care of the customer. I mean, they're like, we'll tell you what it is you want to read. No, I don't think so. And it doesn't work that way. The tail is wagging the dog.
Now, how does it work out for you right now in a mail order industry with things like the indies? Because when you ran a store, for me, going into a store, so much of what I buy is I have no idea what I want when I go in there. I have no idea what came out. I know that there are titles I read. I'm like, did it come out this week? No. Did it come out this week? But then there's so much visual inspection of what's on the shelf. And now, you have to kind of hope that your readers read the previews and say, oh, that looks interesting, and that there's a cover in there that kind of shows it.
Yeah. I tell you, that was always the toughest thing as a retailer, because I had a storefront for nearly 40 years, multiple stores, from the 80s on through just to about a year or so ago, and that was always the toughest thing, is to predict what people want to read before they even have a clue they want to read it. And with just a little paragraph, sometimes a little snippet art, half the time no images is even available, even on Marvels and DCs when you're trying to order through Diamond. It's like, okay, this is going to be. We told you the name of the guy. Isn't that enough? Like, not really. And so we're having to predict, get out a little crystal ball, polish it up, shine a light in it, and see if we can see anything in there. And there's nothing there. And and then sometimes you're looking at something and you're just trying to use your own judgment. And you're like, oh, that's going to be a great book. It just sits there on the shelf. Then you see something else like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Nobody's going to want that. And then that's when everybody asks about it, because you don't know what's going to get the news coverage. Well, somebody's going to write a positive article about it, and all of a sudden, people just start clamoring for it. Now, sometimes you can see something and say, okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I remember when that was first solicited, I thought, that's just crazy enough to work, because it was hitting all the 4 major food groups at the time. Teen Titans, okay, a teen group. Ninjas, well, Frank Miller and the Daredevil and the Ninjas were real popular. Mutant, okay, X-Men. And then Turtles, well, Donald Duck, some funny animals. I mean, hit all the major four groups of the comics at the time. So people gave it a try, and look what it did. I mean, it just give people something different sometimes, and but you give them something good, and put your heart and soul into it, and maybe you'll have a hit. And that was an independent that really did well. Of course, nowadays, and if you look at most of what's being offered, it's another superhero book because there's just not enough of those being made. Clearly,
you know what's doing well in the indies right now? There's two things that are taking off in the crowdfunding area: werewolves, almost to the point of like, okay, that's enough, and westerns. But what it really shows is that there's a market out there for more variety and more genres of storytelling.
That's where manga always did so well. It wasn't that people wanted the manga style of art. Manga gave you different genres, different types of storytelling, and that's what people want. Different things. Anything from a high school adventure to sorcery, witchcraft, to Western adventure. A little dinosaur running around called Gone. I mean, just they had samurai adventure in the past. They really don't even mess with superheroes very much, but you had a variety of a bunch of different stuff, and it was there for all different types of readers. And a comic book hero, it's superheroes. That's it. And now they're kind of getting away from that template of a strong moral character, and great power comes great responsibility. I talked earlier about that the last time we were talking about how all my police and military men have stopped buying comics anymore. They just can't connect with them anymore. They don't relate. I used to ship comics to military bases all around the world, and I don't ship anything outside the continental U.S. right now.
Well, it's too expensive to do that now anyway. But
well, no, actually, with the military, they got a pretty good deal because it's kind of the government pays part of the shipping for it.
Well, that's true. You are going to an APO.
Yeah, APO, exactly. And so when you're sending the APOs, that thing will follow them around, and so they don't have it too bad there. And so a lot of times their packages end up being for the whole group, and they just kind of pass them around. And it's a fun hobby. I see somebody's writing something. Let me get my glasses on so I can read what it's saying here.
Yeah, well, Spectator out here in the chat, and welcome, Spec, is asking if there's any new traditional westerns, like without the supernatural. And I'm hard pressed to say yes. I mean, because they're all a little odd. But I think the best one out there is going to be Six Gun Gorilla. And I know that that's not traditional Western, but it's also not supernatural. I mean, he was just a trained gorilla in the circus who was, rescued and raised by this guy, and he got shot down, and he was trained to be a trick shot artist with this great big cannon made to fit his mighty paw.
Cemetery butt crosses. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on a mission of revenge now. So
yeah, he was on the show.
Yeah, he was on our show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm glad he's doing well. But yeah, it's something he's giving something different. He's not trying to give you the same thing. Well, this is Superman if he was born on Batman's backyard or something.
Yeah. What if the Waynes had found the rocket ship? We did that one. It was called Speeding Bullets.
I mean, we even had Superman as Tarzan.
Yes. All that mattered was, what if he landed X number of hours later? 4 hours earlier he's in Africa, 6 hours later he's in Russia.
That
years earlier he's in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, those are fun books, and they're all good stuff. But it's still just appealing to one niche of your clientele, and you can get books for everybody. And then when they're trying to do some books, so it's just like, okay, now we're going to change everything over to this other niche. And like, no, keep making books for everybody. Just don't ignore one group of. It's like back in the '80s when I first opened up, everything was all ages. I didn't have one book that was considered mature in a store. And then along comes The Watchmen and The Dark Knight, and they realize, hey, we've completely ignored this demographic. So now let's start ignoring the kids, which is where your new customer came from. And then it got to be the point where I never did have an adults only section because I was in areas that were zoned where it was illegal to sell anything that was considered too mature because I was too close to church and school. So I had to be careful about what I had. I couldn't even have it on my premises. And I was fine with that. I chose not to carry that because I always wanted a family-friendly environment in my stores. And it got to the point where people come in and say, okay, well, I'm looking for something for just for kids. And it got to be so tiny a selection, I had to create a kids-only section. I never had an adults-only section, but I had to create a section just for the kids because the other stuff, of course, then the kids immediately want to go to the other section. They don't want to mess with that kids stuff.
Yeah.
And I want what's over there. And they ignored the kids. And then when they did make comics for the kids, they gave them pablum where they just really talked down to them. And a kid, he can appreciate just the same thing you can as an adult. You just got to be a little bit more careful about the violence, the nudity, and the language. Just keep it halfway clean. And you can have innuendo. I mean, there's stuff innuendos in comics that we read as kids that went over our heads. And then as an adult, like, oh, I see what they did there. But as a kid, you didn't get it. And, that's fine. You could still, it was all ages. An adult could read it, enjoy it, and a kid could read it and enjoy it. And you don't have to see the actual cuss words. How many times do you see cuss words with a pound, !, exclamation mark, hey, fill in the blanks. And then when they did start putting the cuss words, they didn't even get that right. I remember when I went on the comic book Legal Defense Fund cruise, and it was almost all creators there. I mean, I think there was maybe one other retailer on the whole ship, and just a few fans. And so, I got a chance to talk to a lot of these guys. And up to then, I'd always wondered, why do all the super characters in all the comics, when they do curse, they all use the same cursing patterns? I mean, you had like a preacher would use the same language choice as a longshoreman. I mean, there's different kind of cuss words. People cuss differently, but all these people talk the same way, kind of like a Kevin Smith movie where everybody talked about Kevin Smith except Kevin Smith. And so I always wondered, why do they all have that same diction? And when I got on the cruise, well, that's how they individually talk. So, okay, everybody cusses like me. And, they are paying attention to society, saying, that's not the language that guy would use. Here's the language this guy would use. Here's, you're going to be colorful. Get the color right. And so still even then, I mean, may as well gone back to the pound and exclamations because it still wasn't accurate. I mean, I think the people will fill in more appropriate curse words on their own and just fill the blank here and you'll get it.
Yeah, I always did that by the sentence structure. I'm like, what? It looks like this, but that wouldn't make sense. It would be more like that. But yeah, I mean, all throughout the 70s, it didn't matter who got killed or what drugs were being sold. Anybody could read Spider-Man. Anybody could read Batman. Anybody could read Green Lantern and Green Arrow, even when Speedy was a drug addict. It was an impacting story. And, it was like, it was meant to be. And even though it was, mature, it made an impact on the younger minds. Like, whoa, that was something serious there. That's going to stick with me for a while.
Yeah. And the kids who read those comics, they ended up doing real well in school, too.
Yes, they did. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
But then you got to, they couldn't read Spider-Man or the Avengers because it would always open up with an oral sex scene. Well, not always, but, we had them.
Yeah.
We had Peter Parker laying in bed moaning about his life. It's just a silhouette. He's like, this is happening. Oh, this is happening. Oh, that's happening. I don't know what I'm going to do about this. And then it just suddenly there's the silhouette of Mary Jane and she's not where you expect her to be. And she's like, I'm a little busy down here. Some appreciation wouldn't go, amiss. And he's like, oh, sorry. It's like, oh, how do you explain to a little kid what was just going on there? Who's reading Spider-Man?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not vague enough. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then the Hank Pym Your Turn thing, that was just way over the top.
The Avengers, yeah. And that happened the same week. There was a Batman comic where Batman was making a lot of innuendo about his meat being hot as he's cooking something on the grill. Then there's a close-up of a rapist unzipping his pants, and a lot of other innuendos. Like one place, Batman's or a hooker is trying to come on to Batman, and she doesn't think it's working. He said, "Oh, trust me, it is." She goes, "Well, it's hard to tell," and he's like, "It sure is." And just that, but all that was in 1 week. So you had the Avengers, you had Batman. In walks a customer, never shopped at my stores before, wants to buy some comics for his kids. Do you have the Avengers? Maybe not this issue. Okay, well, give me Batman then. Maybe not. And he just left. I just can't believe what comics are. He came in, asked for 2 books, and it just had to be both those books in that week. And right there, that could have been a customer for life. His kid could have read comics forever. How much business did they lose? Just for that one lost sale. I mean, because the readers for life. I mean, we all remember what that first comic book was we read. And
mine was Superman.
Yeah, Turok Son of Stone. And that something hooked you into the hobby and then kept you coming back. And you don't want to frustrate people. You don't want to make it difficult. You don't want to throw up a bar to it. At the same time, you don't want to talk down to kids either. And when they started talking down to kids on the kids comics, they're like, "Oh, well, they don't sell." And I knew better because I used to be a guest speaker at this annual event when it was being held there in Little Rock. It's called the Summer University Lorette for Youth, or Summer Lorette University for Youth, SLUFY. And I would go and talk about comics. Well, they'd always rotate their other speakers every year, but they'd have me as a regular. And what I'd do is I'd come with a bunch of comics, and they'd send some assistant out there with a wagon to carry them from my car. I tell you what, you want to think if kids like comics, try dragging a wagon load of free comics in front of some kids and just watch what happens. I mean, it's like if you've seen Piranha Feed, that's what it's like. I mean, they loved it. I was always the first event that would fill up, and I remember it used to always be young boys. Then all of a sudden one year it started being all young girls. And so I started listening, and I did actually more learning than I was doing teaching that one. Because like, what is it you like? And that was when manga was first starting to really, penetrate the American market. I was like, okay, I guess I need to carry more manga. And there for a while, there'd be nothing but young girls coming in my store all day. I mean, there hardly be any dudes coming in at all. And so that was a really good market. And then the manga said, okay, we're going to start selling to the chains. We're going to give them a month before you. We're going to sell it to them for less, where they can sell it less than your cost. So by the time you get this inventory you're buying from us on a non-returnable basis, everybody already have it, which happened. And all the retailers in America, we all just quit carrying manga at the same time because they told our customers to go buy it at the chains. And then they started getting returns and it put them out of business. So that was the end of Tokyo Pop, places like that. So.
Yeah, because I noticed that whenever I was coming to your shop, there wasn't a whole lot of manga there. There was the individual issues, the floppies, but not the the thick read it backwards kind of thing.
Yeah, if you went to every store in America, it was the same selection because we all got stuck at the same time.
Well, so what is coming up then that because you're in this position where you're like, you don't know what the impact of the book you're ordering this month is going to be for 3 months because you've had to order 3 months in advance. You don't know. Let me see if I can explain this correctly. You order a book, you're not going to get it for 3 months. A month after that, though, you have to order the book that's going to come out after it. And you don't know if the book you ordered first is going to merit getting the book that comes out after. You're not till issue 3 ordering before you get issue 1. And now you don't even know what issue 4 should be.
Right. Yeah, that's tricky. That's what I don't miss about retail is having to make those guesses. I mean, it was just it was tough. You had to know what your customers wanted. Like I was saying earlier, I could look at a book and say, man, that's going to be a great book, and it just sit on the shelf. So what I did is I quit reading the previews. I quit trying to predict it in advance. I just listened to what my customers tell me. So all of a sudden I'm looking at something like, man, that looks like a great book. Not one person has mentioned that. Maybe I'll just kind of go light on that. And, and that's ended up being better. And I'll look at something like, God, that looks awful. But there's a couple of people who want it. Well, so I would go with a multiplier. And what I always told the publishers that the way to get your sales up is get people talking to me. And I'll go with a multiple of, what kind of feedback I'm getting. And a multiple of 0 is 0.
Yeah. So what are your customers talking about that's driving what you're ordering this week?
Well, lately it's been drop this and drop that on DC. There's not been a lot of additions here lately. But Marvel's they're finally starting to publish again, so I'm getting some people adding. They're not doing any big events as far as any new characters or any new title. It's still the same old rehash, and when they do try to do events themselves, the event fatigue happened a long time ago. Just hardly anybody buys. I got one guy who said, I'll take everything Marvel, and that's about it. And then I've got another guy who says, I'll take any number ones from Marvel. And a lot of times that's all I'll sell of these new series. I mean, all the other customers are like, yeah, when it comes out for a while, I'll look at it and then I'll decide if I want it later. So I don't have to buy copies for the shelf, hoping that they'll do it. I still have to kind of push myself back when I'm doing ordering because I'll still every now and then like, I know some more people are going to want that. I better pick up some more copies of that first issue, and then it doesn't happen. But at least I got eBay, and I'll go ahead and just drop them on there. And sometimes I do well with them. Sometimes my mistakes end up being, pleasant.
Yeah. eBay is the place to go now for, if you're looking for that back issue, because I don't know that many stores even have the back issue bin anymore. They all had to slim down, and when they cut out the back issue bin, suddenly they slimmed down their money chain, and they had to bulk up with Funko Pops and stuff like that. I worked part-time at a comic shop in the Chicago area, mid to late 80s, and even then it was like there was not a real big back issue area. There was the new comics around the shelf, but then in the middle of it was the Beanie Babies and the coffee mugs and stuff like that. I was like, and t-shirts were always a big thing, the graffiti imprinted t-shirts with superhero stuff on them.
Yeah, I never did well with Funko Pops and a lot of that stuff. I mean, because the markup was so poor on them. If you had a few unsold, then you didn't have a chance to turn a profit on it. I mean, it's almost like going to the horse races, and a horse, you have to put down $20 to maybe win 2. I mean, it just didn't seem like a very good odds on the bet for the gamble I had to put out there. And with the shipping costs on top of all that other stuff, I mean, it just between the poor markups and shipping costs, it just it just wasn't there. I just had it on a special order basis, and I just didn't want to carry a lot of stuff that'd be sitting around looking at me, because I tried that. I tried carrying statues for a while, then I had to wholesale a lot of the statues off just to get rid of them so I get my space back. Did the same thing with action figures. Tried to carry a lot of them for a while. You just got to know what your market is, and sometimes the market will come and go. At one point, I was selling a lot of paperback books, and then the chains started coming in. There went the paperback books. I used to sell a lot of magazines and a lot of calendars. Chains came in, took those away. They kept trying to take the comics away, but it's just such a difficult hobby to order for, because you got to know your specific customer base. And chains, like, they want to order Archie the same way at one store at all 20 or all 100 stores, and it's not going to sell that way. I know me having a city. I live in one city. I have my businesses in two other cities. One's in North Little Rock, the other one's in Little Rock. Two separate cities, separated by a river. And what sold on one side of the river did not sell on the other. And I had a lot of my clientele. They would never go from one side of the river to the other, because it's like asking them to go to the dark side of the moon. Oh, I never cross that river. And it's just kind of weird how people get their boundaries built up. And it was a completely different clientele basis. I mean, every time something would sell terrible at one store, it would sell real well at the other. So that kind of gave me the perspective of, you can't just go by one store sales. You got to look at the overall demographics. And I remember when they reinvented DC, and my store that had a really diehard DC on it. I mean, these people have been reading it forever, and it made them all angry. That's it. I'm done. I'm walking away. Jumping off point. So it cratered my DC sales at that store, but it increased my Marvel sales because they all went over to Marvel. Whereas my other
still want to read.
Yeah, my other store used to be the Marvel store. Well, a lot of them, though, they were like, hey, I want to try that new DC. So it worked at one store. It was a bomb at the other one. And what store that was a DC became a Marvel store. The store that was a Marvel store became a DC store. It just flip-flopped. I mean, so, you just, you got to look at the big picture, because it's not, you can't just go with a one microscopic viewpoint. I mean, you just can't just zone in just one little area there. And, it's just keep the customer satisfied. That's the whole thing, is like, try to find a way to, give them something new without chasing off your old customers.
All right. Well, what are you working on lately here? I know you've been working on that art chronology for a while now.
Yeah, I was working on that to the minute right before the show. Yeah, so I'm working on that. Then I've got a Kickstarter that's about to end. I got, I think, like 6 more days on a Kickstarter. It's a bunch of crossover classics that I'm participating with making. We did back in the spring, early summer, a book called Cosmic Courtship. It was written by Julian Hawthorne, and it was a lost science fiction classic. There had never been reprinted, and so we made it available for the readers. Completely retypeset it, put it out in new editions, and it did very well. It's getting fantastic reviews, and so we went back and said, well, let's go get the rest of Julian Hawthorne's lost work. When this stuff's over 100 years old, it's public domain, never been reprinted, so we're bringing it back to readers. And so we pulled back all his other stuff, which is romantic comedies like Doors Dances. The banjo playing millionaire walked away from his billions so he could adopt a little girl, and now she dances to his banjo. It's light-hearted. And then you've got the Fires Rekindled about reincarnation, and then you got a trilogy of Martha Clem. You might think of her as the earlier mistress of the occult, but not really. I mean, it's they're some of them are horrific, some of them are occult, some of them are not. But it's a trilogy of stories. One of them is a novel called Sarah Was Judith, which is about a belligerent ghost, I guess, is one way to say that. That's really a bad indication, because there's a lot to the story more than that. Another one is a Goth from Boston, which has nothing gothic about it. It's a South Seas adventure. And the other one is Absolute Evil, which is actually the only story from all those that had ever been reprinted before. But then they botched when they reprinted, like, oh, wait a minute, I've got to worry about our sensitive readers, where you had a New England preacher who became a werewolf and started spouting evil things against the Bible like that. Like, okay, let's make him a professor. People would be able to buy that. We're restoring the original text so you actually get the original story. And so we've got offering all those as individuals, stories in trade, pocketbooks, magazines, and hardcover. And we're also offering, just exclusive to the Kickstarter, an omnibus with all of those in one big package, plus the Cosmic Courtship. And so that's a giant omnibus where you can get it all in one one deal. So all that's going being offered right now. The other stuff will probably be available later, after Kickstarter. But you won't get all the bonuses. Like right now, we're giving away some bonus trading cards with Virgin art that shows the original artwork from where I took from the pulps, recreated it, took out all the type, restored the art to what it looked like when it was new. And so, everybody buys a set, you get those. Once the Kickstarter's over, those are gone. I won't be able to get those again. And, and one of those is actually the Cosmic Courtship. So all that's on Kickstarter right now. And got one more week to go. Next time we talk, it'll be over with. If you didn't order it, you missed out.
Yeah, I've shared the link into the chat. And this is, of course, the Kickstarter in question. You $500 goal, 12,945 made. Not bad. I think we lost your sound, Michael.
Yeah, sorry, I went ready to grab some the trading cards there. That's the Kickstarter right there. It's a you can tell the one that's the artwork that was shown at the top. That is the artwork from Sarah was Judith. Where I don't know if that's Martha Clem in the chair and the ghost or what, but it's that's one of those things on the covers. No scene inside the book was matched with the covers, but the one hardcover did. No, that was one novel by itself. That's its own package, and then so you got actually 3 different books you can order on here. Another one is the Goth from Boston and the Absolute Evil. That's a separate book. That's also the other 2 stories of Martha Clem, and that wraps up the Clem trilogy. And then the 3rd book is Fires Asunder and the Doris Dances, and that's one where there was no artwork with it associated with the stories when they originally published. So we went ahead and created new artwork by Dark Philly, and to the left there, that's the Goth from Boston with Absolute Evil, and then in the middle is the novel for Sarah was Judith, and then there's the Doris Dances and the Fires Rekindle, and that's where Dark Philly did the artwork, did the pencils and inks, and I went ahead and did the color for her, and I tried to use a color palette to kind of match with the other 2 covers.
I wonder if anybody could take Martha Clem and reuse her now. I mean, if she was just a host, if somebody wanted to tell Victorian era horror stories, Gothic horrors, and just have them hosted by Martha Clem.
Well, she was a little bit of a participation. She was part of the stories, and she's actually supposed to be descended from the Salem witches, which that was something they edited out when they reprinted Absolute Evil also. So, she's a descendant of Salem witches. So, but she wasn't actually the main character, but she did have participation in the stories.
Okay, so she's the host, but she's also she's like Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, a little bit of Angela Lansbury there.
All right,
here's some of those trading cards.
Let me give you the full
this
screen.
This is the Goth from Boston, restored without the text. And here is the Sarah with Judith. This is done by an artist by the name of Fred W. Small, and he also did the artwork for the Cosmic Courtship. And this, if you're wondering what's going on with the head beams and all the little floating stuff, this is where you have anti-gravity belts and you can fly. A story opens up with one climb to the top of a 500-foot building, jumps off, and flies away.
And all of this by the... Oh, sorry, I took your screen away. Okay, let's take a look at it now.
And here's the Doris Dances card there.
All right.
And that is accurate. That is intentionally a blonde white woman in ancient Egypt. That is part of the story. So the editor said a few people popped their monocles when they saw that. That's completely inaccurate. Like, not according to the story.
Not according to the story. And these were all...
That is a scene of the story.
Yeah, these were all science fiction stories written by Julian Hawthorne, the son of Nathaniel Hawthorne. He of, the Scarlet Letter and the Sleepy Hollow stories. So if you want to see what science fiction was like when it was just starting to sprout, just becoming an idea of, hey, what about life out there?
Yeah. Now, if you go to my website, I've got a page set up for it, and I've included snippets from different reviews and links to the full reviews. It's getting great reviews on there.
Yeah, and Mike's website is, by the way, linked down below. That would be thewildstars.com, where you can find out about this book and all the other books that Mike has worked on.
Yeah, it's a crowded page.
Yes. Scroll and scroll, but Control F and find. Speaking of books Mike has worked on, this is not one of them. Mike did, however, work on the previous anthology we did, Gods and Services, which I don't have a copy of in my hand here. This is our last anthology, The Devil You Know. This is basically stories of people's encounters with the devil. And we have science fiction, we have horror, we have comedy. And the reason I bring it up is because we have a reading period open now, Michael, for The Devil You Know Better.
Okay.
Second book, second anthology. Reading period's open through the end of March, and we've already got people trickling things in. So, I got the same cover artist there, like, this is what I want. And you can see, it's got the different title on it, and the demonic hand is holding up 2 fingers because this is book 2.
I like it.
We'll lead up later on into possibly The Devil You Know Best, because I don't know if he could. He can't get 4 fingers up and still hold on to that contract. It's going to be iffy. But we'll see if we can't get a 3-fingered cover up there and then just say, okay, we're done, stop.
Yeah.
And move on to other things. So if you're a writer, you know how to hit us up. criticalblast.com has contact information. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of them you can find Critical Blast on. So we are ready.
I've got a story. I think I'll send your way myself there.
Well, there we go. And send it on my way. We'll read it and get it into the list. Michael, top of the hour. I think it's time to wrap up.
Well, it's been fun as always.
As always, anything going on in the comics industry other than the books that we didn't talk about?
Well, for me, it finally got better. I mean, there was a lot of transition to go through. I went from being a brick and mortar to being mail order, then watching go from just one distributor to Diamond to UCS, and then UCS went away. Then I went over to the new guys and Lunar, and then now Marvel slipped away. Now they got a random Penguin House, had the disasters roll out, and Diamond's been up and down, and it's kind of like funny because after the Penguin Random House opened up, all of a sudden Diamond started fixing a lot of things. My comics suite system never would work well. Now all of a sudden they've got it because they wanted it, I guess, to make sure it worked well with Random Penguin House, and now they've got it where it works well with the DCs. So it's like my POS system finally is fully functional for the first time in a year and a half. My books are showing up in great shape finally again, and timely, and without a lot of errors. I mean, it was just a little
competition will do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, before the whole pandemic hit, I mean, I was having 25% damage and shortage every week on every single order. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I'd show it to other people. They're like, "How can you stay in business like that?" I'm like, you can't. I mean, the pandemic doesn't want to knock me out. Diamond just had me so beat down that the pandemic was a straw. So that's it. The back's broken. I'm done. I'm gonna find something different to do. And I had
where else are you gonna go, right?
Yeah, so I had opportunities to do other stuff, and worked out. What worked so well for me is that, and I could have never done this at any other time in the history of the comic industry, was I had so many of my customers said, "I want to go mail order with you. If you're not going to have the stores anymore, ship me the books." And I thought, it'll last for a little while, then it'll just slowly all whittle away, and they remain solid. I mean, they're still with me, and my sales are growing. DC's kind of taken a hit in its numbers here recently, but overall, they're making more books now, and or more books that are saleable, not just filler issues. And overall, Marvel's stepping it back up. It's looking as best it's looked in about a year and a half for me. And it actually looked better than it did a year and a half ago. Even though I had my 2 stores and 5,500 square of space, I'm actually more profitable than I've been in a long, long time. So,
now, how long have you been doing the mail orders? Has it been a year yet, or has it been over a year?
It's been about a year and a half now. Not quite a year and a half, but I've been. Yeah, and I've been a little over a year, approaching a year and a half. Now, I've been doing mail orders as long as I've been in business because, way back, in the early days of my business, I'd have a customer, military guy, getting ready. Hey, I've been moved over to this base over here. How about you just keep shipping me my books? And that's how it started, was servicing my military customers. Now I don't have any military customers anymore, but that used to be all my mail order was to the military.
Yeah, well, there's nothing that they want to read either. We don't have any military books. We don't have, Haunted Tank, Sergeant Rock, Unknown Soldier, all that stuff disappeared. So,
Semper Fi.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
When Marvel's last, War is Hell.
Well, yeah, I remember that one.
War.
All the good stuff. All the good stuff.
Yeah.
We got superheroes, and all they do is eat dinner. So
yeah. So you even GI Zombie or whatever. I mean, there was a one comic where you had like a Frankenstein GI Joe, and you had the Unknown Soldier, a guy who could change his face all the time, and
yeah,
you have a lot of different things. That would be for the military, and but
GI
now it's
Robot.
yeah, GI Robot. That's another one I was trying to think of there. And I always liked the island that time forgot, where you'd have the World War II guys fighting with dinosaurs. That was always fun.
Yeah, and then there was the Creature Commandos.
Yeah, you don't think it as to being too seriously, and that's one thing I think comics have forgotten. Let's have fun. Let's just tell a good adventure. Let's take you somewhere, make you forget about the stresses of the world, and an enjoyable. Go someplace, do something you hadn't thought of before.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you again for coming on. We will see you and maybe some other folks in 2 weeks on the LCS Guys show. Make it the Guys show again. Get back to plural. Folks in the chat, appreciate you being here. We don't have any show without you guys, so we're always glad that you show up. And hit the links for the LCS Guys below. Check them all out. They've all got something different to offer. Mike's got a ton of books out there, including some graphic novels that he's worked on. You're going to be
Wild Stars.
The Wild Stars. That one's interesting. It's graphic novels and full novels, and it's all one story. So you switch the mediums back and forth. So with that, we just hope you had a blast while